the... Are you seeing that? What is that? Oh, what's that? It kind of looks like a tiger. It kind of looks like a seat for a fairy. What the heck is this mushroom? Most people look at the forest floor and see dirt. But if you're lucky, and I mean really lucky, you can spot a literal gemstone poking out of the sand. Meet the Brown Funnel Polypore, or its Latin name, Coltricia perennis. Or you might know it as its much cooler street name, the tiger's eye. This mushroom has a lot of names, and I'm kind of curious why. Hi, my name is Holly. I turn mushrooms into characters. Today we're learning why you should never overlook the Brown Funnel Polypore. It may look like a piece of wood, but don't be fooled. It is a mushroom. Guys, it's not wood, it's a mushroom. This guy is so stubborn that he would rather swallow a stick than move out of the way. I will explain that further in a minute. I came across this mushroom when foraging on my own in my backyard. I thought it was a weird looking stump, to say the least. No. It was this mushroom. I'm pretty sure this is the correct identification for that mushroom that I found. Could be some of the dangerous lookalikes or its friends that look very similar, but you can be the judge of that. Let's get into it today. First, let's talk about the description of this mushroom. Take a look at that cap. It's funnel shaped and a weird circular pattern is around it, rising only 3 to 10 centimeters wide. This was very fun to draw, but it was odd because I've never seen this particular pattern in mushrooms before. It almost looks like a stone, which is what it was actually named after. The tiger eye mushroom is actually named after the tiger eye gem or tiger eye quartz. So do you see the similarity there? This mushroom mimics distinctive patterns of that particular stone, which is why it gets its name, but also it could look like tiger's eyes. I don't know, whenever I first heard about the nickname tiger, I was like, oh yes, it looks exactly like tiger's eye. Okay, so this is a tiger's eye gem. This is a tiger's eye, and this is a tiger's eye mushroom. What do you guys think? Like, where did it actually get its name from? I'm so curious. Even the great Carl Linnaeus was impressed enough to give it its name back in 1753. While most mushrooms are pretty squishy whenever you touch their cap, this tiger's eye is kind of a tough guy. It's a polypore, meaning it doesn't have gills at all whenever you look underneath the cap. It has pores, which is kind of like our skin, but they're a little larger. I don't really like to think about it personally because it gives me the ick, but generally speaking, that's kind of the definition. But unlike most bracket mushrooms, this particular type does not really like to grow on trees. It really likes to grow in the grass. So that means that this mushroom has a stem, which is very uncommon for a bracket type of mushroom. This is one of the best ways to identify this mushroom as it stands up from the ground with its stem measuring 2 to 5 centimeters high. So let me look. Oh, it's so cute. Okay, what? So it has a stem. The stem is tiny. It's not even, okay. It is 0.79 to 1.97 inches. Exactly, that's the math for 2 to 5 centimeters high. So whenever you're looking at that, how high is this mushroom actually standing? Oh, I don't know. It's so tiny. But to be fair, this mushroom is pretty wide. Like, that's the whole thing. Even though this mushroom has a tiny stem, it still is a great way to identify it from other bracket types of mushrooms. If you flip this mushroom over to try to identify it, you will find tiny gray brownish pores that are very, very fine. But this mushroom is pretty sensitive, so if you do start to mess with the pores too much, then he will start to bruise. This underside will bruise to a much deeper brown color. Unlike most mushrooms that have a spore print of white or black, this mushroom has a golden brown spore print, which kind of makes him stand out from other types. Another name given to this mushroom is fairy stool. This mushroom earns this mythical nickname due to the fact that it looks as tiny and flat as a fairy's chair or stool. Essentially, that's the myth. Since this mushroom is so sturdy and looks like wood pretty much, it gives a perfect opportunity for a fairy to sit upon it. I thought this was so cute. This mushroom also grows in fairy rings, which, if you didn't know, I'm actually going to be getting a fairy ring tattoo around my bicep. That's my very first tattoo, so I'm very excited. I decided to go with my own art. I'm doing a bunch of mushrooms. But yeah, this mushroom grows in a fairy ring. The reality of fairy rings is that the main hub of the mushroom is growing in one place, and as far as its roots have stretched underground, is where the mushrooms will grow out of to try to reproduce. But mythically, fairy ring is almost like a portal to fairyland and that sort of stuff. There's a lot of myths regarding fairy rings, and they can be seen as very magical and powerful, and I think it's so cute. While most shy away from any sort of disaster, this particular type of mushroom actually grows in places that have residual fire. So a fire burning the forest, this mushroom will actually be strong enough to sprout up and start to rebuild. This mushroom really likes conifer trees, so usually if there has been a fire around that type of environment, it will usually sprout up there. This mushroom is very stubborn. In fact, it's so stubborn that if a blade of grass is growing right where it wants to, it will go right through it. This gave me the impression that this mushroom perhaps was a parasitic mushroom, because as I've talked about in other episodes, some mushrooms eat living creatures. Living. There's so many mushrooms that decompose. Parasitic is one of those that's a little bit scary and spooky. But to come to the conclusion, this mushroom is actually just really stubborn. It doesn't actually eat the plant, it just sort of is stubborn about it, to say the least. His name, perennis, actually means perennial. This is one of those mushrooms that's kind of rare, that it grows all year long. This mushroom is so tough and so sturdy that it actually progresses through winter time, which most mushrooms cannot say the same. He's a rare example of a polypore that prefers the ground over tree trunks. Even though this mushroom looks like a tree, it does prefer the ground. And it looks like a tree because it's built to last. He's so tough and sturdy that he survives through all conditions. He's a bit of a silver fox as well, because as this mushroom ages, his vibrant gemstone-like colors start to fade into a more gray color. Even though this mushroom lives quite a long time for a fruiting body mushroom, it does eventually fade away, but it is quite a sight to see. He's a bit too tough for your teeth, but he's climbing the stairs in the scientific community. Researchers have been busy knocking at this mushroom's door to learn more about his antibacterial properties and antimicrobial properties. He may not be too delicious as he's very thick-skinned, as you can kind of tell from the outside. He's also proving to be pretty thick-skinned about medical advantages. There might be potential to this mushroom, although research has not come out too much about it. The Funnel Polypore is quite a world traveler as it grows in North America, Europe, and Asia. But he's quite picky about his neighborhood. He prefers more sandy soils on the forest floor and conifer forests, apart from Dudius. And he likes the ground to be more well-drained, kind of like sandy. But this mushroom is not a loner. He is a mycorrhizal mushroom, not parasitic, but a mycorrhizal. This mushroom does like trees a lot, and as you can kind of guess, it's a conifer-loving type of mushroom because it grows in conifer forests. Mycorrhizal mushrooms have a connection underground where they bond with trees and they exchange nutrients. Because he's built like a tank, he's kind of built to last all year long, giving him the title year-round resident. While most mushrooms vanish at the first sign of frost, this one actually lives all the way through winter. He is a permanent fixture in the forest, watching the seasons change while his less sturdy neighbors come and go. Oh my god, that's so sad. He's a survivor and perhaps he's seen it all. To a new forager, this mushroom might be hard to identify next to a couple of mushrooms that look very similar. I know that there's a few mushrooms that I was kind of confused as to what the one that I saw in real life was. Looking at the brown funnel polypore, we can spot a few imposters. First, there is the turkey tail. She's flashy and striped just like him, but she's stemless, clinging directly onto logs and wearing white pores instead of brown. This mushroom also has very distinctive white edges as opposed to the brown funnel polypore that doesn't really have this distinctive look. The turkey tail literally looks like a turkey's tail. Then there's the winter polypore, a pale fellow with large angular pores that are white, and he refuses to bruise when you touch him. The most dramatic rival is definitely the orange tooth mushroom. Now, if you look this up online, definitely add the word mushroom because I was looking and I just typed in orange tooth and yeah, that was not a pretty sight to say the least. I was like, oh shoot, it's a mushroom. While he shares Tiger Eye's tough and woody texture, he's a orange-brown character who does not even have pores at all. He actually he breathes through tiny spines or teeth. This is another type undercarriage that I haven't really talked about very much. They literally look like spikes. That's super weird. I will probably do the orange tooth mushroom here soon because this mushroom is quite interesting to say the least. But not only that, the orange tooth mushroom actually leaks a red substance that literally looks like blood. Not only does this mushroom have little teeth, it bleeds from them pretty much. Yeah, I don't know, that kind of freaks me out. I don't like that. Our main star, the tiger's eye or the brown funnel polypore, doesn't have any of these traits, and thankfully so. He stands apart from the forest with his rings, no white edges, slight bruising when you touch him, but no red substance is coming from him. He's not like that. This mushroom is definitely one to distinguish due to the fact that he always grows in the ground and not against a tree or a log. The brown funnel polypore, you just can't buy his friendship, and you certainly cannot grow him in a factory. Because his life is so tied to the strictly wild mushroom world, he refuses to be mass-produced due to his amazing bonds with the trees and the fact that he's not very delicious. Most humans don't grow this mushroom at all because it's not edible for people. This mushroom has a very special place in the forest, but it's not very special for humans, only to look at with our eyes. While this mushroom is pretty common in its habitat, he remains a very humble character, surviving through winters, remaining through the test of time, and certainly past most mushrooms that I have ever seen. Although interestingly enough, I thought this was a fun fact to throw in there. Some people do hunt for this mushroom, particularly for the cap for art projects. I've also noticed that there are some bracket mushrooms that people really like to draw on. So future video coming soon for that. I was very curious about why, how, yeah. Now that we've talked about a couple of mushrooms that look very similar to this one, I want to kind of revisit them and do a forest quiz. Imagine yourself walking through a forest and you find a couple of mushrooms. Do you think you can distinguish them? I'm going to show a couple of images of mushrooms that look very similar, the ones that we talked about, but also the brown funnel polypore, and it's your test to guess which one is which and to try to find our star of the day, the brown funnel polypore, aka Fairy Stool, aka Tiger's Eye. After every single question, I will have all of the answers so you'll know which one is which. All right, good luck to you. I will see you in just a minute. Hi, welcome back. If you got all of the answers right, good job. Good job. I try to make these hard. But if you didn't, that's okay. You can always just rewind and do it over again. I don't mind. But if you really did get all of them right, you are ready for the Brown Funnel Polypore trading card. Yes, that's right. I make trading cards and sticker sets. And if you would like to be part of my mushroom club, I actually have an entire club where I send them off every single month, depending on whatever tier you want to do, high or low, it's up to you. Having the mushroom club is a way for you to support my journey in creating all of these cards. Eventually, I will have an entire game, but as of now, it is just me as the artist. So if you would like to just follow along for the journey, I will send those off every single month, physical stuff. If you would like to see the entire behind the scenes process of my trading cards and stickers, you can click here to see that video. If you want to add the tiger's eye to your trading card deck, you can head over to my Patreon and the Mushroom Club. Just look up my name, susrooms, and you will find all of my stuff. I'm really curious if you guys have ever seen this mushroom or anything like it in the woods. Let me know your stories, leave me a comment below. Let me know if you've ever mistaken the turkey tail for this type of mushroom, because the turkey tail is edible. I know a lot of people hunt for the turkey tail, so I'm just curious to hear your stories. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next video.